Hello, Hockey World. It's Saturday. That's right. We're doing a show on Saturday. It's Saturday, June 17th, 2017.
I'm Michael Agello.
And I'm Dan Petru.
And I'm Eklund. You're watching a special edition of the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that normally comes to you Monday through Friday at this time, depending on the comings, goings in the hockey world. But today we're going to do the comings and lots of goings, apparently, in the hockey world to talk about trades. And we already have a trade that just happened right now. The gist of it, I know Chad Johnson and a draft pick. I think
And a prospect. There was a prospect in the
prospect. Okay, Hickey, yes, and a conditional pick to Arizona. That's what it is. Have gone for Smith, and 25% of the Smith's contract, Mike Smith's contract, is going to stay in Arizona. This means that Calgary's got their goalie, which was something that was very interesting. That's just the one trade, but then the other trade that happened right before that, which has really got everybody thinking now, is the Montreal trade. Mike, why don't you give everybody that one?
Yeah, the Montreal Canadiens apparently are allergic to any defenseman who's under the age of 30 because they traded Nathan Beaulieu to the Buffalo Sabres, so they traded him inside their own division for a 2017 third-round draft pick. I mean, Beaulieu's 24 years old. He is a good defenseman. I mean, he hasn't lived up to the expectations that Montreal had for him, but I think he is a good defenseman, and he did not play well for Therrien. He was not utilized by Claude Julien last year, and in terms of the whole protection thing, it may have looked like he might not have been protected, so they get something for him. But on top of the deal that they made for Drouin, now you've traded a 19-year-old in Sergachev, a 24-year-old in Beaulieu. Even if you flip Galchenyuk for a defenseman like a Brodin, or as you reported on your blog or on Twitter for a Hamonic, their defense hasn't gotten better. And I think it's gotten overall depth-wise and everything else. I think it's gotten worse, and I don't see where. And they didn't add a number one center or a center, so I don't know what's going on here. What do you think, Dan?
Well, I think the Canadiens made all these moves, and I don't know if they addressed any needs. They still need a couple defensemen. They still need a first-line center, which they're not going to find. I don't know how they're going to get a first-line center. At worst, they're going to have to sign a guy like Martin Hanzal or a Les Hemsky on July 1st. They're going to need to get a couple centers in there. They only need just one center. They need like two, maybe three. If you're Carey Price, I'm not running up to get a new contract.
Well, okay, this is the thing, and I'm not saying, and I'm only bringing this up because you're on the show, but July 1st, the whole talk about Tavares signing an extension. Mm-hmm. If that doesn't happen, obviously, then it's going to blow up like Stamkos blew up the year before he was going to become a free agent. If Montreal had any interest whatsoever and had any kind of aims to try to get John Tavares and talk trade with the Islanders, the first name out of Garceau's mouth would have been Sergachev.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So him trading his best negotiating piece, his best chip, to me, and not getting a number one center is lunacy.
Here's another. Speaking of all this, okay, I just got a text from a friend who said he's hearing Anisimov possibly heading to Montreal.
Okay.
All right, so that's
still don't have a first line center, but that's better.
He's a number two center.
Nice two.
Yeah.
He's a number two center who played with first line wingers on any other team. He played with Kane and he played with Panarin.
Right.
And his history with the Rangers, and if Russ was here, he would talk about this. He's a big center, but his history has been having injuries. He's been injury prone. So, okay, he's a center. Is he a number one center? No. Is he a number two? Okay, maybe.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Because he'll be playing with some talented wingers, not the level of what you have in Chicago, but good wingers.
Right. And we don't know. And what we don't know, are they giving up Galchenyuk for Anisimov?
I don't think so, because is Galchenyuk an RFA? Is he an RFA? Yeah, Chicago can't negotiate. Is probably not going to want to go down that road when they're up against the cap.
Right. Exactly. So that might be a salary dump on the part of, because we've been hearing about the Marcus Kruger stuff going to Vegas. There's been talk about them. I mean, I know that last week, Dan, there was a lot of talk coming out of Chicago that they were going to trade a core player, and everybody assumed it's not going to be Taves, it's not going to be Kane, it's going to be one of the defensemen.
Right.
I don't consider Anisimov a core player. He's a top 6 forward, but he's not a core player.
No, he's not. He's good. He's a good second or maybe a third line center. I think he's better than a third line center. He's probably a tweener. He's a good second line center. If you put some good wingers around him, he'll be productive. He is good in his own end, but he has shown an inability to play 82 games. There's definitely some risk there. There's risk with the Drouin deal. I mean, you gave up your best prospect. You didn't solve a need. You got a very talented player who's had one good season, and you gave him a ton of money. So I mean,
Right.
I don't know.
No, you're right.
Here you go. Darren Drager just posted. Despite Chad Johnson's inclusion in the Mike Smith trade, I'm told Arizona is still in the market for a starting goaltender. You just traded one. Now, okay.
They got to get a goalie back.
Right. Well, Louis. So Louis Domingue is not in their mind as a starting goaltender. Does that mean that Steve Mason is going to Arizona? Because right now it's musical chairs, and other than Marc-Andre Fleury, Steve Mason is one of the lone guys out there.
Right. There's not much out there. I mean, Halak is available, I guess, if you want to take him for a year.
Well, here's the thing on that with Johnson that I'm heard, and I guess I'm not following Twitter. I've got my texting up here, so you can tell me if it's mentioned on Twitter.
Sure.
I mean, I love Mac texting via my computer. So the Johnson thing has to do with them needing to protect a goalie, right? So that's Chad Johnson. They need to protect a goalie, so that's why Arizona picked him up.
Well, they're saying they're going to protect Domingue. That's what they're saying.
Okay.
So if they protect Domingue, they have to expose a goaltender. But the thing is that Chad Johnson's a UFA, so you can't expose him. You have to expose the goaltender who is signed or is an RFA that you qualified. So I don't know if they have somebody in their chain right now, and if they don't, they better operate pretty quickly here because they have to have a goaltender to expose. Otherwise, I think they would be penalized by the NHL. And I'm just looking right now to see. Domingue is under contract. They have a free agent goaltender that they signed, or a prospect goaltender, Hunter Miska. I mean, I guess they would qualify if that would qualify since he is under contract.
Does he qualify for protection though?
Not sure.
Could Hamonic be going for Galchenyuk? That's the big question that I have now. A couple people texted me that.
It should. I mean, if that's a straight up deal, it should have been done already. Honestly. That's a trade that helps the Islanders instantly. I mean, I've spoke about it at length. You can put, hey, Galchenyuk wants to be a center, right? He thinks he's a center. Okay, you have the opening job as second line center. Here's a chance for you to be a second line center, and here's where it really works. Because if that doesn't work out, you can flip Galchenyuk to play with Tavares in the first line, and then Barzal will have time to ease into the league. You can move Barzal into the second line center. It's a win-win for Garth. And if what is he setting the value at Hamonic? Has he watched Hamonic play the last 2.5 years? If someone's willing to give you a 23-year-old young forward who has scored 20-plus goals in this league, you should be running to it.
Yeah, but the problem is that the team trading him, Dan, is devaluing Galchenyuk. I mean, they're basically saying, okay, he scored 30 goals, but after drafting him third overall 5 years ago, we don't believe that he can play the position that he was drafted for.
He's done more than Drouin has since being drafted.
Now, matter here, guys. If the Montreal Canadiens have to sign Radulov by 3:00, correct?
Yes.
So this is the other thing that's going on. If they don't sign Radulov by 3:00, he then becomes possibly
a UFA.
Vegas can tender an offer to him, right?
Vegas can, but I think
Vegas is the only team that can,
right?
But Vegas will probably. I mean,
they'll table an offer to him, but I don't think Radulov. This is the thing. There's been speculation that Radulov, and this has been reported that Radulov and the Canadiens have an agreement in principle, and that he was holding on to not signing it because of an impending divorce. I don't know. I have no proof whatsoever if that's true or not. It's just been out there sort of in the ether. But if that's the case, then this is all just like, I mean, Vegas could waste their expansion pick on him, and if he's going to sign with Montreal, I mean, I'm sure people in the know if that's true or not. But thing is, if that's not true, and Montreal is not going to offer him, significant money to sign a long-term deal, there's a lot of teams that'll be interested in Radulov. A lot.
Yeah, I mean, but he wants a ton. So
right.
That's to me that's a tough one because of the fact that he has had a great year, but he also fits in Montreal really well. I mean, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole personally. Like if I was he really seems like a bad contract waiting to be signed.
I think you have to keep him to 1 or 2 year deals. You have to keep him motivated.
Yeah, you have to.
I wouldn't give him a 4-year deal at all. I mean,
that's the thing. I mean, and I've heard this comparison before. With Alex Radulov, he had a really good year last year. You sort of get a whiff of Alexander Semin. And it's not just the Russian thing. It's the 1 or 2 year contract thing, the motivational thing.
Well, Thomas Vanek the same way.
Right. Then you give them the big 5-year, $35 million contract like Carolina did, and then they found out it was Alexander Semin. So, I mean, maybe Montreal wants to get him on a short-term deal. Maybe they're waiting to see if they can move a Placanitz. Who's making
San Jose might have made a big trade. I'm trying to crack it down right now, but
who's that?
I heard some rumblings about Hurdle.
San Jose
this morning.
Yeah, I'm trying to check what San Jose's doing here.
I know there were reports during the week that they were very close to signing an extension with Vlasic. If that's the case, then maybe a guy like Paul Martin gets moved because Paul Martin had another 2 or 3 years left. And at this point, this is like, he's still a good defenseman, but he's a little long in the tooth. Martin's got another 2 years at a little less than $5 million. And okay, I'm just going to extrapolate from that. If it's Paul Martin and it's 2 years, watch out for the Maple Leafs. Paul Martin played for Lou Lamoriello in New Jersey.
Right. That's true. He did. Wow.
Yeah, I heard some rumblings that Hurdle might be on the move.
Yeah. Also, I think San Jose likes Galchenyuk too.
Yeah.
Everybody likes Galchenyuk, but I talked to somebody there who. Now the question is also comes up here is, and it's everybody assumes Shattenkirk to the Rangers is a slam dunk. I've heard a couple people tell me now that the Rangers are sort of undecided on that to a degree, that it's not as slam dunk as we're thinking it is, and it's possible, the Montreal could be looking that way. Like that could be.
I mean, every speculation regarding the Rangers about who they want to trade for, who they want to get is they want a top pairing D. They want a top pairing D. Well, there's your top pairing D. Maybe that's being leaked out there because they want to keep the price down. But I still think Shattenkirk wants to go there, and I still think they want him. But maybe they're trying to say, give us a little bit of a discount here. Maybe we'll give you 6 years, but we can't do $7 million. How about 6 times 6.5? Just give us a little wiggle room here. Because I don't see them getting a top pairing defenseman in a trade. They're not going to. Even if they trade Derek Stepan, you're not getting a top pairing defenseman for Derek Stepan.
Right.
Yeah. By the way, Paul Martin is 36 years old.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a little bit long in the tooth. He did have 26 points in 81 games last year. He's played well for San Jose for the last couple of years, and has experience, and like I said, did play with Jersey during the Lamoriello era. So, for what the Leafs are reportedly looking to do, which is they want to go big the next 2 years before they have to sign Matthews and Marner and Nylander to these big contracts, so they have some flexibility. We're adding a couple veterans like Martin, and like you suggested back in your blog today, Justin Williams, which I've that's something that just makes total sense.
Yeah,
it's Justin Williams
go there too, apparently. I know people who know Justin Williams pretty well. He lives near me, and where we have the short place that we go to with my in-laws down in Margate. So I know I've heard lots about Justin Williams in Toronto.
Right. The only thing that's curious about that is Justin Williams just got U.S. citizenship. So not that really means anything. He'd be a dual.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, maybe that was the people said, well, he obviously doesn't want to go to Toronto because he's becoming a U.S. citizen. Well, not necessarily. It might be.
He wants to go play with those young players and inflate his team total.
Exactly. And the only thing that's unknown right now is that Justin Williams is a right winger. He's been a right winger most of his career. The Leafs are stacked at right wing. So either they would be asking him to move positions to play the left side, or they're going to move somebody like a Kasperi Kapanen or a Connor Brown in a trade.
Yeah. Geez, hold on. Does look like it really sounds like Galchenyuk's going somewhere
right now.
Yeah, before the 3 o'clock. I mean, it's nothing's definite, but I was just talking to somebody who I just got a text from somebody who knows him pretty well. He thinks he's going somewhere.
Okay, while we're waiting for that to drop, the one thing that came out this morning that's pretty interesting, and we're not going to know the details about this until Thursday, is the rumors of this deal between the Blue Jackets and Vegas.
Right.
Where the Blue Jackets are trading them the 24th overall pick. They're getting rid of the last 3 years of David Clarkson's deal, which is, which is basically for Vegas is a $5.25 million coupon because he's not going to play ever again. There's insurance on the contract, so he's just going to eat up cap space. That's fine. But the part of the deal, Columbus is getting protection against them taking Savard and Jack Johnson and other players. But the list of players that Aaron Portzline wrote about in his article that are going to be exposed, these are the guys that I would want Vegas to take in the first place. He's like William Karlsson, Matt Calvert, or Ryan Murray.
Ryan Murray's still a question mark, though.
He's a question mark. He's a question mark, Dan. But okay, he's 20.
If he wasn't drafted second overall, you wouldn't care as much.
No, but he was, and he's got that skill set. And you know what? I mean, okay, let's just say it's a roll of the dice that is worth taking. Now he's an RFA after next year. He's probably going to expect to be paid. That I'm sure that factors in. Columbus right now, they've got Werenski, they've got Gabriel Carlson, they've got Seth Jones. So they're loaded with young defensemen. So from the Columbus point of view, getting rid of Clarkson's contract, protecting certain players you want to protect, I understand it. But I would, honestly, if you're a team out there that needs a defenseman, I would contact Vegas and say, take Ryan Murray and let's talk trade, because that's a defenseman. I think that there's still something there.
I guess what you have to look at is what's more important to the Blue Jackets, or getting well, no, actually, it'll be the Vegas getting the draft pick that you can have under control, giving you flexibility, because there's rumors they're going to get more than one first-round draft pick out of this. So now you have flexibility to move up in the draft. Or you need prospects. You need to build a farm system. You need to build a group of prospects. So if I can get 3 or 4 number 1 picks out of this, regardless of how good this draft is or not, I'm going to do it.
Well, it's all dependent on how sold Vegas would be on a guy like Murray. If they think Murray is something still.
Yeah.
After all the injuries, you're picking
how many
up.
Games did he play this year? Let's look it up.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think he finally made it through almost a full season.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is though, it's like he's 23, 24 years old. That for that team, that's a building block because, it's probably going to take him 4 or 5 years to be a playoff team, and he'll still be around there possibly if they do that. But the value to them in terms of flipping him somewhere might be just as good. So, I mean,
he played 60 games this year. 2 goals, 9 assists. Year before, 82 games, 44 goals, 21 assists. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about the Islanders' need here. We've talked.
Do we have to?
Duchesne. Yeah, we have to, just briefly, because they are definitely involved in what's going on right now. I know. Like I can tell fans like you and other, not you're a reporter, but a fan as well, like we all are, which is like my biggest beef is when reporters say they aren't fans, because we wouldn't be involved with sports if we weren't fans. So, right. But the idea here is, we've heard Duchesne's name mentioned, we've heard Galchenyuk's name mentioned. Who's the better fit in your mind?
I think Galchenyuk might be the better fit. He's younger, he's versatile. Yeah. We know he can play on the wing, and maybe he can be center. I don't know, but he gives you versatility. I don't think he clearly is not going to cost as much. You can get him under control based on your terms. I just think there's less risk there. Yeah. I like Matt Duchene. I just think I tweeted last night that Joe Sakic is treating Matt Duchene like he's trading Joe Sakic, and he's not doing that. I was told that they don't want Hamonic. I was told that, and I was also told that they don't think Pulak is experienced enough. They want someone who has more NHL experience, who's young and under control. So I
So
just feel like
is that Calvin DeHaan? Is that who it is?
I don't think it is. I think it's someone better than that. I think it's maybe someone like a Gothosphere. I don't know. Just throwing out names there. You know what I mean? I just think, honestly, at this point, if I'm Guard Snow, I'm telling Joe Sakic, here is what's available, and I'm calling this bluff. I'm walking away from that, and I'm looking for another option.
Well,
This is ridiculous. This has just gone on way too long. It's becoming Jimmy Vesey.
I'll put this out there as well, real quick, because I just heard this too. Don't count your chickens in the fact that all this Galchenyuk talk right now isn't part of some kind of ploy to actually sign him. You know, like there's that also exists in Montreal, where Montreal could go and say, okay, because players love to play in Montreal. They don't want no one wants to be traded from the Canadiens, really. And so Galchenyuk, he's had his ups and downs for sure. If anybody wants to, maybe it would be him, because the way he's definitely been moved around a lot. But really, for the most part, people don't want to be traded from there. So you start to see all these trade rumors come up. Meanwhile, you are still talking contracts. So, I mean, that's something could get there.
I just think, I think right now Guard Snow's biggest need is a second line center. And if I think you have to move on from Duchesne, I think you have to look at other options, and I think Galchenyuk's one of them. I still think Minnesota needs to do something. I would call him about Eric Stahl. I would definitely inquire about Eric Stahl. They need to get some money off the cap. He has a really nice contract. He had a nice season last year. They have to do something. I keep saying the Islanders have to do something, so of course nothing's going to happen today. But it's just, I don't know. Here's the thing: if nothing happens today, and Garth has to trade a first round pick to keep his players from getting taken, I think that's a lose. He should have made a deal so he didn't have to trade the 15th overall pick. There's, it's not the past couple of drafts, but there's still good players that are going to be available at 15.
Oh yeah.
Did you see my note?
No.
Send Peter an invite.
Okay, cool. Thank you. You got it.
I mean, the one thing about the Galchenyuk situation that makes me pause when they're talking about potential contract negotiations and getting him locked up is he's already been on a bridge after his entry level. He scored 30 goals. I would think that the player wants a long-term deal wherever he's going to go. I don't think Montreal's of a mindset to sign him to a long-term deal because simply he's gone through 2 coaches now last year that said he can't play center. And it was one thing to say, he played for Therrien. Therrien didn't think he was defensively responsible enough to play center. They moved him to the wing. Then they fire Therrien. They bring in Claude Julien. He says, okay, you're going to play on the number 1 line. The experiment lasted, I think, 2 games. And then they moved him back to the wing. And then during the playoffs, he played 4th line minutes. That is not a career track that says, oh, we want to sign this guy for 5 years. That's a career track saying, get the hell out of here. So that's why I would hesitate to say contract negotiations, because I don't think Montreal wants to sign him to a long-term contract.
Yeah, I don't. That's a big question. Like at first I'm with you, but then when I think about more, the more I think about it, I don't know. If Montreal wants to sign him to a long-term contract, they definitely have leverage. But I don't see from the point of the player him taking it. Oh, let's just say this: if he takes a bridge deal, he's going to take a 2-year bridge deal and go right to UFA because that's his next path. And do you think that the Canadiens want to lose him at 25 years old? I think they either want to get the asset that they can get for him, right,
or sign him to a long-term extension. And if you choose between A or B, I am thinking they're going to trade him rather than sign him to a long-term extension. Yeah, I would think so, but it's so Montreal's unpredictable. I mean, like this defensive trade we just talked about it points to something else happening. Now, they've now moved a lot of defense out of there, in a short period of time.
Right.
And Brodin, it looks like isn't, according to I guess Bob McKenzie was saying that he's not going to get traded today.
Yeah, everybody keeps saying these things aren't going to happen, but if you logically look at this, you would think in the next half hour something has to happen for quite a few teams in this league.
Unless what they're doing here is they're making their deals with Vegas.
Yeah,
they're protecting themselves.
Maybe Minnesota throwing a first-round draft pick out there too. Like right. and there are people, and Kevin and I have been talking about it for a couple weeks now, and I mentioned it. He mentioned it yesterday that people think they could have 3 or 4 first-round draft picks, and I saw I think Pierre LeBrun came out today and say he thinks they could have 2 or 3 already.
But Minnesota doesn't have a first-round pick because they traded the first-round pick in the Martin Hansel deal. So if they trade a first-round pick, it might be a 2018 first-round pick.
Right. Which, if you're Minnesota, is a good pick, but you got to think you're a pretty good team. You think you're going to be in there, so it's not going to be
right. You think hot teens, low 20s.
Right. Now it's not like it's not like they're the 76ers who are trading first-round. Sorry, just as an aside. Not a basketball person, but I wish that sometimes that basketball. I wish there were as many interesting trade rumors that happened as there are in the NBA. Holy cow, the NBA's got like.
Don't worry, it's getting there. You're eventually going to have 3-team deals with all this cap room and stuff like that. I mean, I think that's eventually going to happen.
Let's talk about this Florida thing too, because that's a crazy thing that's going on right now, right? That we've all talked about. That the Florida might be losing this this player. Marsh, whatever.
No, well, I don't get this. I really don't get this, because when I looked at the Florida Panthers and you look at the 7 forwards they're going to protect, Marchessault, who scored 30 goals last year, should be one of the guys that they protect. But you have to recognize that Marchessault was acquired by the analytics group that headed the Panthers and not by Dale Talon. Now, he scored 30 goals. He was one of the best moves that they made. But I think, I would protect him over UC Jokinen, who's got a year left in his contract, or Derek McKenzie. But if they think that they can get themselves a good value for somebody who scored 30 goals, where a 30-goal scorer is not available, then it makes sense. But I can't see them not protecting him. I think that sort of falls short.
Yeah, I'm waiting on a Florida source who told me he just would get back. Just texted me, he would just get back to me in a second about this whole thing, so we'll know a little bit more about it. But and then don't remember, even though this is a really kind of bizarre soft 3 p.m. It's a hard deadline, but it doesn't mean that moves aren't going to continue and things aren't going to continue to happen. I mean, we're looking at a situation that's going to be very, very fluid. The draft in and of itself always brings with it trades and trade rumors. So, and now the expansion draft. That's going to change everything in the next few days. There's no question that Vegas, and I've talked to people who know McPhee, Vegas is picking players to trade them.
Right.
They've already talked to other teams who've said, I want to get this player. I am still of the mindset that Marc-Andre Fleury is not staying there. There are people who do believe he is staying there. I think there's more to that.
Where would he go, though? I mean, who needs a goal?
I honestly think he's going to Philadelphia. And just from talking to people,
interesting.
I'm telling you, that's
interesting.
That's the exact opposite of the swappity do for Mark Streit. Philly to Tampa.
Right. They're Mark Streiting them. But I mean, more significantly, because Mark Streit was like a fringe player at best. This
right.
Gives you your top goalie. I honestly think Marc-Andre Fleury apparently has been telling people for months that he would go to Vegas. This is what's coming out now that he would accept that move. I don't see that as, knowing Fleury a little bit, I don't see that as a place he would want to go unless he knows that there's more to it. And he's got an agent. Remember, he is represented by our friend, friend and colleague, Alan Walsh, who our
good buddy,
friend of the shows. And
hey, he hasn't blocked me.
Oh yeah, no, he's blocked everyone else.
I wear that as a badge of honor, Dan.
Oh, I was blocked proactively by him, so that still makes me happy. Before I could even try to follow him, I was blocked.
Yeah, that happened to me too with Chris Bada. He blocked me before anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Bada's moody. All right,
yeah,
so let's see.
I know. I think maybe I pointed that out at some point.
Gee, I wonder why you got.
Well, the funny thing is like I went and checked to retweet one of his stories, and like I don't remember ever being a jerk to him. I usually remember when I'm a jerk to somebody.
Yeah, I don't think, and he's got pretty thick skin. He's not like a. Yeah, I mean, who knows though? He could definitely hold a. He's not one to not be able to hold a grudge. So
maybe it was preemptive. I don't know.
Could be.
Okay, here you go. Bob McKenzie pointing out, if Minnesota is able to do a deal with Vegas to keep them to lay off a defenseman, the Wild have a very deep pool of forward prospects to choose from if they deem defense a priority. Now I don't think that they're going to give up like a Joel Eriksson-Ek or somebody like that. But again, Vegas is looking for a guy to advertise, a guy to promote, and we've talked about this for a while. Jason Zucker is from Las Vegas.
Yeah, but there's better players
I know,
available in Minnesota.
but Dan, the
Is
whole
Jason Zucker going to sell tickets? No, a better hockey team's going to sell.
it's a good story. It's a good story.
They have. I mean, that's not a story they need right away. You know.
No, you're right, because there's a grace period.
Yes. Now, Galchenyuk for Landeskog's another thing that's been thrown out there. I've heard that one too.
Another odd. That makes no sense too. I mean, let's get another winger. Do they realize that center is a position?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, they have a really hard time. I mean, that's why to me, Anisimov actually makes the most sense.
It does, and Hamonic makes sense too because they need defensemen too that aren't 48 years old.
Right. So,
I mean, Derek Stepan rumors made sense. Although I would be a little leery if I'm a Montreal general manager to trade for a Rangers center.
Yeah, Stepan's not Gomez.
Oh man, here's somebody. Somebody just texted me this. Oh boy, I shudder to say this.
Come on.
All right, I'll say it, whatever. It's not as bad as Gar Snow's and the UGM of the Islanders, but it's that Montreal is making a huge pitch for Jacob Trouba.
Okay. Well, what are they going to give up? I mean, I can't see the Jets wanting Galchenyuk.
No, the Jets want defenseman back.
Right. Or
right,
Price.
And they don't. Right, and they well. Hey, Western Canada guy. No, yeah, the Canadians don't have they don't have the right stuff to be able to make a Trouba deal. They don't.
Right.
I cannot imagine a deal that Kevin Cheveldayoff would be offered. Because they don't need forwards. They're loaded up front.
No.
And if you look, Tyler Myers is coming off an injury. Tobias Enstrom is in the last year of his contract, and he thankfully waived his no-move clause so they could protect Tyler Myers. Trouba is looking for – and this is the thing. Trouba's looking for a long-term contract. He took the bridge deal because he really had no other choice. But Winnipeg still holds the advantage here. They got him. He's under control for another 2 years. Or 3 years, actually, next year and 2 years after that. So – yeah, I don't think Montreal has the right stuff. If there's a Trouba deal,
no, I don't think so either right now.
But like a team like Boston might. A team like they have Carlo, they have McAvoy, they have a lot of other defense.
I mean, I would give up either of those for Trouba.
Yeah. Would you give up Hamonic for Trouba, Dan?
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
I'd also try and get Hamonic for Ehlers.
Okay.
Well,
no, not straight up.
Right. Yeah, no, I hear you.
I feel like Ehlers is the underappreciated forward there, and I don't think
he's underappreciated in Winnipeg. I think they recognize
there's always
really good.
Trade rumors around him as the odd man out. I don't realize or someone that they can move to improve their defense, and I would gladly help them with that. Yeah. Well, let's ask Peter.
Montreal's talking to Minnesota about Scandella.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Scandella would probably be cheaper to get than Brodin. Peter, can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you guys. How are you?
Cool. Okay.
So I'm talking. I said Montreal's going hard after Trouba. We don't know how that could possibly be happening, but we know Montreal's going hard for defensemen. So Hamonic and Trouba naturally come up. Part of that is probably a little bit of speculation on people's parts, but some of this is from people who, at least for the one I'm getting from, are beyond speculation. They're just saying they're hearing this. But right now, there's so many things flying around. So I'm throwing everything out there, just, literally just see what happens. Who knows? Nothing. Do not, wager on any of these, please.
Peter, are you under the impression that Cheveldayoff has come off that stated goal that if they trade Trouba, that they want a like defenseman, somebody in their 20s, somebody that, the same type of defenseman that they were trading if they traded Trouba? Do you think they'd come off of that? Uh-oh, he locked up.
Peter's really dumbfounded by that question.
It was very inquisitive. There he is. Now we see him twice. That's weird.
Click something and then boom.
And okay,
sorry, where were we, guys?
My question was: has Cheveldayoff do you have the impression that Cheveldayoff has come off the the demand that if they trade Trouba, they need a defenseman just like Trouba in the deal?
No, I think he's going to stand firm on that, and I think he's going to basically he wants the equivalent because he knows where his depth is in the organization on defense, and he needs that. He just does. And unless there's another way to get it, and he knows there's another way to get it, he's always going to aim for that.
Right. And what I was saying was, if that's the case, then Montreal has no way of making a deal with them because they don't have a defenseman who's under the age of 25 who's as good as Trouba is. So it makes it, it doesn't. If they had Sergachev, they probably would. That's would have made a deal possible for Trouba. And Beaulieu is not in the same league, but I mean that they would. And a Galchenyuk, it makes no sense for the Jets because what do the Jets need forwards for? They have tons.
No, exactly. And I mean, the interesting thing is that right now with Trouba waiving his no movement clause, there's speculation right now that perhaps he's going to get traded in the next 25 minutes.
Oh, you mean Enstrom?
Right?
You mean Enstrom?
Enstrom. Sorry, not Trouba. Yeah, you're talking about Trouba, but Enstrom is that there's a possibility there,
Right?
And that's the big variable. And I think Enstrom's aged a bit. He's still an effective puck mover. He still has some skill. He's in the last year of his contract, and he would be a great chip at the deadline if it didn't pan out for the team he's working on, going to. So, I mean, there's a lot of speculation here right now that he could be flipped for something.
Yeah,
I mean, 5.75 is awful pricey, but for 1 year, and if Winnipeg retains something, that might
they have
make
tons
sense.
of room to do that.
Yeah.
So there's a couple. I have another disinterested Islanders fan just tweeted me this.
Is it?
Hey Garth, you can get back into my good graces if you get us Chucky.
Who's Chucky?
Galchenyuk.
Oh, gotcha.
Much appreciated. Sincerely.
I just think no one has any. I mean, if you follow this team, the nothing in Garth's resume leads you to believe that he's going to do what needs to be done. It's like he's never made a trade where he hasn't been in power. I mean, he took advantage of Chicago and Boston because of their cap situations.
Right.
He overplayed Chiarelli because they fell in love with a local kid in Griffin Reinhart. He's never made a trade out of weakness. Or someone knows he needs to make a trade. It's almost like I've made this analogy many times on the site, that it's a Lord of the Rings reference, that all his prospects, all Garth's prospects are the ring. It's like he's Gollum, all right? He gets the ring. He's been chasing that ring his entire life, and he doesn't know what to do with it once he gets the ring.
Yeah, but don't you think ownership is putting any kind of pressure on him to?
If ownership was putting pressure on him, he wouldn't be employed right now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean,
how he cost them making the playoffs last year.
Well, let me rephrase. Don't you think the specter of John Tavares testing free agency will have?
You would think if that can't put pressure on him, I don't know what will. It's like he's a Teflon Don. I don't understand what It's like it almost seems like everybody is fine and within the organization of him always building for the future. I'm tired of asking if Barzal is ready, if Bouvillier takes the next step. No, I want guys with resumes. Let's go. It's been 11 years. I don't want to talk about making the playoffs. I want to talk about competing for a cup.
You got a guy with a resume. You got Andrew Ladd.
Yeah, and he serves a purpose. I mean, that's fine. The way it started versus the way it's ended, I can live with it. When he didn't look like a professional hockey player anymore, yes, obviously we're terrified.
He looked good at the end. He looked good at the end of the season when he was healthy.
Yeah, right. And then that's another thing. If he was that hurt, he shouldn't have been playing.
Right.
There's a difference between being courageous and stupid.
What was that?
Official for what it's worth. I mean, it's not a big deal. The Smith trade does throw a couple little monkey wrenches in. One, it points towards perhaps Marc-Andre Fleury staying in Vegas, because I really did believe that Calgary is one of the teams that liked Marc-Andre Fleury. But I know the Flyers love him, and I know the Flyers have really
they need a goalie.
Yeah, and he's perfect for them because they need a 2 or 3 year fix, right? So
they're I mean, that's the thing. It's musical chairs, and you're running, and the music is almost running out. And I mean,
well, it's not really. I mean, not with Fleury yet. I mean, there's. Fleury's not a 3 p.m. thing. I mean, he's going to go to Vegas.
No. I think he's going to Vegas, and then it's Vegas's problem of where he goes to. If they want him for if they want him for a year to be the stabilizing goaltender, that's great. It's just
Steve Mason could very easily be the Flyers goalie again, or they could go after somebody like Galak. or something like that. They could. There's other players they could go after for sure. There's other goalies out there.
I mean, Dan, do you get the impression that that right now that Garth is going to stand pat with Grice and?
Yes, and Halak, yes, I do. I get the impression that nothing is going to happen before now in training camp.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's no reason for. I'm tired. Every year I fall into the trap of this is going to happen because something has to happen, and I'm not falling into that trap anymore until I see until I see the official transaction. I believe nothing I'm being told. I've become like Mulder, Agent Mulder. I don't believe the truth.
So apparently Chad Johnson, who's on Twitter, found out about the trade.
Yes, that's pretty funny.
Via Twitter.
Well, things are going to move quick.
Well, no, I saw Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco talking about it, saying how happy he was to be traded, something like that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Wrong. Johnson, bro. Gotcha.
Brother.
I apologize.
And I will give I'll tip my hat, even though I'm not wearing one, to Jason Botterill, or Botterill, excuse me, as he wants his name pronounced, for his first trade, because I think getting a 24-year-old defenseman in Nathan Beaulieu for a third-round pick in 2017 was a pretty sharp move. I mean, Buffalo needs a lot more help on defense, but that is a move that I think now I think Beaulieu could be a top 4 for them.
Mm-hmm.
And now with him, McCabe, Ristolainen, probably a Brendan Gooley makes the team. Unfortunately for them, you're still stuck with the albatross of the Zach Bogosian contract for another 3 years. But maybe Phil Housley can. That's a reclamation project that if Phil Housley can work his magic on that one, then God bless. And they have Josh Georges, so they their defense may not be as bad as people think.
Here's a good one. Someone suggested to me that that they just heard this. It's not definite. Of course, nothing is definite. I'm saying I'm not giving any E5s. These are all E1s, 2s, and 3s so far. But that Anisimov and Jarmelson could be heading to Montreal together in like a big blockbuster. Now there you go. That gives them a defenseman and a center.
For what? What does Montreal have to send that?
I remember Montreal. Chicago has to clear up space. They want to do something. Chicago actually.
Yeah, but they're not giving. They're not.
They want to get in on Duchesne, believe it or not. Chicago wants to get in. They want to get in on a player like that. They are looking. They would have to move something. They would have to do something like this to make that happen.
I want it to happen just because I have no idea what Bergevin is trying to do.
Yes.
Yeah. What is his mission? Where is he flying the ship to? Sailing the ship to? Is it some island we don't know about that exists in this paradise?
He's flying it into the sun, is what he's doing right now.
Yeah. Garth Snow's riding shotgun.
Yeah, I mean, okay, right now, Anisimov has another 4 years left in his contract, $4.55 million. Jarmelson is another 2 years at $4.1 million. So you're clearing $8.6 million in salary if you moved those two guys. What are you doing that for? What is it just that you have a lot of young forwards and that you think you can move Anisimov and you got guys like who was the guy that they had last year that they added? John. Oh, there was a center that they added late in the season. It was a draft pick. John Hayden. They like John Hayden. Is John Hayden? Yeah. Do they think John Hayden is ready to be the number 2 center in? But
no, he's
Taves?
Not.
He's not.
No, he's a good prospect, but he's not ready for that.
Right now, maybe they can do what they did a few years ago with Brad Richards and get a veteran to sign a 1-year contract and fill in as the number 2 while their younger guys gain more experience. But Jarmelson's a different cat here. Jarmelson's part of that top 3, and if you're moving him the same year that you're moving Trevor Van Riemsdyk to Vegas, all of a sudden your defense is not as good as it used to be, and that's the big thing with Chicago. They need those 3 defensemen, they need those 3 or 4 forwards as their core guys, and if they don't have them, they're not Chicago anymore.
What?
Right. Here we go. This is from Brian Lawton, a tweet. Lawton is very much a good person to follow on Twitter.
Yep.
Kind of like, I know everybody follows the standards, like the McKenzies and Dragers and all that, but Lawton has he's always been out front. He was out front with Shattenkirk for sure last year. He was the first person I heard mention the Capitals with Shattenkirk. But anyway, he says if you don't see Minnesota Wild or the Anaheim Ducks trade anything soon, you can expect those teams have cut a deal with Vegas to lay off players. And I think that that's fair. I mean, I think that's really true. And so that we know that we have a pretty good idea that Columbus has done that. So that's 3 right there. That's 3 first-round draft picks.
Howard Berger, our friend Howard Berger, is reporting that the Leafs are working on a pre-expansion draft trade, possibly involving James Van Riemsdyk, which is obviously we've been reporting that for about a year. Not putting down Howard's report, but I mean,
but I haven't heard it. I haven't heard the last couple of days. It sounded like they weren't going to do it before, at least now. So the fact that they could still work it out in the next 8 minutes would be questionable, but we'll see.
Well, yeah, true, but right. And the thing is, and I keep going back to this. The thing is with Van Riemsdyk is he is not prepared to sign an extension that is team friendly. I think it's a matter of when, in terms of the Leafs trading him. It's either at the deadline or it's now in the next couple weeks. So the Leafs are not under any kind of constraints when it comes to the expansion draft. They're not going to lose anybody of major consequence. So it's a deal that could happen at the draft, but it might be the other team that might be in expansion problems, like Anaheim or Minnesota.
Yes, and those are, I think those teams have probably cut deals.
Right, it's possible.
It's interesting. So we are 7 minutes to go here, and still no Radulov deal. I think that's significant. I really do. I think that people have been sort of taking it for granted that Radulov is going back to Montreal, and I'm not 100% sold, especially given all the stuff that Montreal has done here. Montreal. That you can say on one hand that they're clearing space, but they're probably doing that. Sorry, I just got a text about Eberle possibly, so keep an eye on Eberle. Eberle and the Islanders again. That's another text to look out for.
Just a move that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't. There are some people who made a really big. I forget who it was that made a big case for that the other day. The guy I really respect.
Explain, Dan. Why doesn't it make sense?
Because you still need a second line center. It's not a deal that can happen without the Islanders moving some contracts. They can't take on that $6 million without finagling some other moves. They can't, unless Edmonton will be taking back a salary as well. An Eberle for Hamnick deal straight up just can't happen. And
no, the difference in price is over $2 million.
Also, you have, as of right now, I'm just going based on constructed on the roster. You have a lot of perimeter players already on this roster. You have Strome, you have Nelson, you have Quine, you have Prince. It's like, are we adding another? I'm not calling him soft. I'm just saying Eberle is a more diminutive, a smaller player who stays outside the high traffic areas, and that's really doesn't. I don't think that fits a need to what this team needs up front. They already have Hosang and Barzal who have some similar skill sets as well. So I just don't see it as a good fit. Now, look, if it happens, I'm willing to try anything at this point. So sure, I'll be Eberle's fan, but it just doesn't seem, with the other options out there, I think there are better options than Jordan Eberle.
Yeah. Dan, is the desire for a second line center on the Islanders pretty huge? Is that the issue that you see? Yes. So what about, is there any reason why the Islanders and Montreal wouldn't be talking?
They should be. The Galchenyuk should be an Islander already.
You see on paper, right? Mm-hmm. On paper, Galchenyuk and one of the Islanders D, Hamnick, is a nice wash. It logically makes sense.
I agree. It absolutely makes sense.
You look at it. But
you're talking about Bergeron and Gart Snow, so it's like,
Yeah.
I said earlier before you came on, it would give the Islanders flexibility. You could try Galchenyuk at center. It would allow Barzal to ease into the league or even go down to the minors and get some experience. And then if it didn't work with Galchenyuk at center, he's comfortable playing wing. You can put him with Tavares and ease in Barzal, and it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, but the complicating factor with Galchenyuk is the contract, is the fact that he's RFA.
That's true.
Because like I said, I think that Galchenyuk is going to want, and he's in no position to demand massive money because his big year was 2 years ago. He only had 17 goals last year, and like I said, he got moved to the wing, he got moved to the fourth line. He's not in a strong negotiating position. So the fallback, if he stays with Montreal or if he gets traded someplace, is to take the bridge deal and then roll the dice on himself at 25 going to UFA. But if he does want the long-term deal, he's going to expect $4.5 to $5 million, and that's the going rate because you'll be buying how many unrestricted years?
You know who's happy right now with Galchenyuk and this deal, whatever he gets, and Drouin's contract? You know who's really happy right now? Leon Draisaitl is really happy.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's getting.
Because if Drouin can get that contract, and we can talk about this for Galchenyuk, what's he asking for?
That's a different. That's in the stratosphere, Dan. Because we're honestly. Connor McDavid is going to sign an extension on July 1 or pretty close to it. It'll be interesting to see if he signs the max 8-year or if he does the Stamkos Tavares thing and goes 5 years, which I think he's going to do. But the question is, how much does he make? And then the second question is, if he makes $10 million, how much does Draisaitl make? Because you're going to have to pay him almost as much because look at the year that he had.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if Drouin's getting 5, you can get. Yeah. He can ask for 7.
Right.
And he'll probably get it. Look at what Scheifele's getting. Right. There's your benchmark. He's going to get more than Scheifele, and probably a lot more. Like not just a couple $100,000, like maybe $1 million more.
Yeah,
because that's what it's going to require.
Scheifele got 6'1", and even though he's an older player, Ryan Kessler got 6'8", and then Sean Monahan got 6'3". So you're talking Draisaitl, who was playing as their number 2 center when he wasn't playing on the wing with McDavid. You're talking $7 million.
Yeah.
Now, if you're paying him $7 million, are you paying McDavid $9 million, even on a shorter term deal, even though you're not buying unrestricted years? Probably. So that's 16. That's why they have to move Eberle, because they have to clear out that $6 million salary.
Right.
Yeah. So we're down to a minute now. We got a minute to go.
Imagine this. Chiarelli can't move Eberle today.
Yeah.
Okay. And you leave some exposed, and Vegas doesn't take him.
Right.
It's almost like it's almost like McPhee has the ability not to take guys teams are hoping they might take, to say, I'm coming back at you another way to get what I want too.
Right.
You want me to take Eberle, here's what else you're going to throw in. Not that I know what you want from the Oilers, but because the Oilers are they're a team that probably did more than they should have based around the fact that they have McDavid, but they're a hodgepodge of players that don't make a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and McDavid and Draisaitl make a lot of things make sense just because they're that good.
And the thing that's complicating Edmonton right now is
no Montreal deal, no Islanders deal. Totally.
Okay. The thing that's complicating things with Edmonton right now is you've got dead money with a bad Benoit Pouliot contract that I wouldn't be shocked if they bought him out, but they probably won't. But you have Sekera who blew out his ACL in the playoffs. That's why they're going to be hot and bothered to get a defenseman for Eberle, because they need to replace. That's great leverage for Chris Russell going into UFA, and that's great leverage for any team that they're trying to make a trade with, because they're going to expect to get a defenseman back. So, yeah.
All right, guys, I got to run.
Okay, Dan, thanks.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you jumping on today.
No problem.
We'll stay on for a few more minutes, just to because there's sometimes could be leak after.
Yeah, there's something here.
I just saw a tweet from a smart guy who participates in the Jets sort of social media sphere, and Rob just said Minnesota and the Islanders are screwed if they don't have a deal done now. Basically, they're going to have to probably sacrifice their first to get through Wednesday unscathed. Is this the kind of situation with the defense depth that those teams have, that the other teams now are going to come in and say to McPhee, here's what I'll give you. Now, this is what we're really waiting for, right, on the other side of this, not just the protected side, but those are two targets where the vultures are going to come in. So maybe Montreal's looking to say, this is where I can scoop something up.
Right.
And I'm using Montreal as just an example because we know they have a need on D.
Well, I mean,
Right.
there are a number of teams. I mean, Toronto is in that boat, Peter. I mean, I think
and Toronto with the 17th pick in this draft, I think Toronto would. This is the time to use it, and say, what are you going to take from me to get X, Y? I would go in.
It only depends. It depends on the quality of the defense. I mean, you want to go even further, unless there was a deal made that the deadline passed 2 minutes ago. Unless there was a deal made that we don't know about, Ottawa is screwed. Florida is screwed. They could lose a Pizik or a Petrovic or a Jason Demers, who will be exposed. Ottawa is gonna, they're not going to trade Cody Ceci, so that means that they're either exposing Mark Mathot or they were trading Phaneuf, and we haven't heard of a Phaneuf trade, so that means Mark Mathot will be exposed. Now, maybe Vegas doesn't want Mark Mathot with his injury history or the fact he's only got a year left in his contract, but there are teams out there like Montreal. Montreal would be interested in Mark Mathot. Toronto might be interested in Mark Mathot. Yeah. If Jonas Brodin or Dumba are exposed, Montreal and Toronto would be interested in those guys too. So, yeah, this whole
amazing thing is thinking that Brodin or Dumba could be exposed. That's what sort of like, how did they let that happen? It's really fascinating. And, and if you're a team like Edmonton, you should be all over that.
Well, I think we were saying before you came on is that Minnesota doesn't have their first round pick this year. They traded it in the Hansel deal. So now that means that it's either their 2018 first, which is reported to be a better draft, or it means one of their young forwards, which could mean a guy like Jason Zucker, who is from Las Vegas. Now maybe they would want like a Joel Eriksson Ek, or there's a number of young forwards that they have. They could go down that road, but honestly, I think Vegas would probably want that promotional benefit of having a Vegas native on their team.
So here's something that's interesting. Even though the trades technically have not been made, that doesn't mean that deals can't still happen, that agreements and arrangements can't still be made between Vegas and other teams. So, we look at this and we're sitting there and saying these teams are screwed, but they really aren't screwed yet. There's still there's just nothing official has been done. And remember, we were told too that there wouldn't be, a lot of, they wouldn't be told everything that happened too. So I see people out there speculating that Nashville, is still in trouble because they haven't made an arrangement, but we don't know if they haven't made an arrangement actually.
No,
and I think
but they can make an arrangement with what this is. You can't make an arrangement with another team other than Vegas, and now it's all Vegas.
Now you can talk to Vegas.
Yeah, it's all Vegas.
So Vegas has the time.
Now McPhee is going to
free agent. Like, look at all
right. McPhee
how much staff does McPhee have right now?
I know Kelly McCrimmon is his assistant GM, but he's got to have more than that.
Yeah, he's got to have, he's probably hiring summer students just to handle the phone call volume.
Yeah, well, yeah, but
hey, what did you mean by your tweet there when you retweeted Darren Dreger? Just you wait. What was I didn't
know. Quoting Hamilton. Because Dreger said something about that potentially two big players next week from the Montreal Islanders could still move. And I do think there's a good chance on that. I don't think that has to happen yet. But yeah, I think that's going to be fun to watch. Yeah, I really think that's going to happen.
Well, yeah, I
really think Hamannik's going to end up in Montreal. I do. Just from talk. I thought it was going to happen before. Now, I think it could be Galchenyuk. Going the other way.
Yeah, but that doesn't add up for Montreal. He's only 26.
What do you mean?
They've been trading every defenseman under the age of 30. So why would they trade for one back?
Oh, hang on. Dredger just tweeted new news from Winnipeg Jets beyond Enstrom earlier in the day. He just tweeted it now.
Oh, he meant no news, I think.
Oh, maybe.
No news. No news.
Oh, no news. It says new news.
Yeah, no, he updated it a few seconds later. It was a typo, which we can all understand. I've done that many.
Everyone can still trade.
Yeah, sorry. Whoops.
this deadline only pertains to teams and teams, but not teams in Vegas. So
right now George McPhee is on the epicenter of the hockey world for the next 4 or 5 days, because everything in terms of trades will go through him.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that other trades aren't going to be worked on. It just means that the only ones and whatever he does complete can't be announced until Thursday.
Right.
So we're in lockdown, folks. The only thing we'll hear tomorrow.
We're only in lockdown in terms of actual trades, Mike. we are wide open in terms of rumors.
Oh no, right.
We're going to see tons of rumors, and this is what usually happens in these freezes. This is when the rumors come out like crazy. And the great thing about these freezes is you can actually, as opposed to running into a trade deadline here where everyone is panicked to a degree, right? During the freeze, you can experiment with all sorts. You can talk to all different kinds of people. Would you do this? Would you do that? And not worry about something happening while you're going back to the other team. So you've got a really good option now. Teams can talk a lot. GMs love trade freezes because they can go and they can feel out everyone and not worry about someone undercutting them while they're doing it, which happens all the time going to the trade deadline. So there's a lot going on. I still don't quite understand the Flyers trade yesterday, by the way. I don't understand giving up Nick Cousins for that. I just think Nick and a really good prospect goalie.
Russ and I and Anthony talked about it on the on our weekend podcast, and what we figured out was that Cousins was not going to be protected by the Flyers. And the goaltender that they traded, the Harvard goaltender, he's one of 3 goalies that they had prospect-wise in the system. You can't develop 3 goalies at the same time, all who are around similar age. You have room in your ECHL team. You have room in the AHL team to give them a lot of playing time. You can't have 3 goalies at the same time and develop all of them. And I think he's a junior at Harvard, and he's got another year, and then he becomes a UFA if he doesn't sign with the Flyers. So they may have determined we're not going to be able to sign him because we have Carter Hart and Sandstrom. Yeah. So
no, I think the goalie I understand to a degree, but
Cousins
not protect. I guess I don't know if they thought Cousins would be picked up, but
I mean it's possible. Now.
Possible, but I mean they have I think that I think I'm looking at like Scott Lawton. That's a good chance to be picked up. I think. He's and also Matt Reed's name's come out. I don't think that's going to happen though.
Right.
So by 5 o'clock today, protection lists are due. That's how it works. So
correct.
Now that everything's done, teams are putting their final list together. The lists will be released. They'll be the way this works. I think they are approved by the NHL tomorrow, and then the teams know what's going on, and it'll just be a big secret to all of us. So because we're not allowed to know yet, but we will know eventually, and that'll be that. It'll be fun to see how good people are at keeping secrets over the next couple of days.
We'll see. We'll see if they do.
I have a feeling we're going to see a couple of these protection lists get out there. So
yeah,
it's only 24 hours though. It's like I mean it's very. But they're going to be released tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow at 5.
No, 10 a.m. 10 a.m.
tomorrow
Eastern.
10 a.m. Okay. Well, there you go.
Christmas morning.
Right.
Will they be released to us tomorrow at 10 a.m.?
My understanding was that the NHL was releasing them at 10 a.m. tomorrow. That the release didn't specify who, but it would seem that they're releasing them.
I didn't think we were going to even see them. I thought how I was understanding. I mean, it's changed so many times, so I could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
Because originally we were going to see them, but then I heard we weren't going to see them at all until and that everything was going to be kept secret.
Yeah, it's confirmed. Okay, Steve Karp, who is the reporter covering Vegas, says trading with Vegas can begin 7 a.m. Pacific time, so 10 a.m. Eastern time, Sunday when the protected lists are released. So the protected list will be released 10 a.m. tomorrow to everybody.
Yeah,
to everybody.
Yeah.
It says to the teams, but I think it's to everybody.
I don't.
It's funny when they were flip-flopping around on how to do this. I can remember Darren Dridger doing a hit on TSN 1290 here in Winnipeg, and he said, if they don't want to reveal them, and I understand some of the reasons for this, he goes, we're pretty good at getting this stuff. He goes, the collective media, whether it's us or another news agency or sports agency, we're pretty good. And he goes, I'm pretty confident that we will, before the draft, we'll have 80% of them. And he's right. It'll come out. And Eck, you know better than anyone. There's plenty of reasons to leak certain things out at certain times based on what other people are doing as well. And that still applies to this situation as far as I can tell.
And
it's better for Vegas for these deals, for these things to be released, because
and you know who else will leak them? The players themselves will leak them.
Yeah.
I have not been protected by so-and-so, or I have been protected by so-and-so. It will get out. So for the sake of organization, the league is just going to put the list out there, and there you go.
As the way it should be. It should always have been that way.
We will have this list tomorrow morning for you on HockeyBuzz.com. But I'm not convinced that that's the case. But I'm still. I have not heard they will actually be told. If I've heard that they want to try to keep everything quiet until.
Well, that's trade, Zach. They said they want to keep.
As far as because also by releasing these lists, you also do piss off players. There's a whole bunch of things that happen here, So it's like
wouldn't the players know already? I mean, there was an interview in a French paper, Express or something like that, where it came out on Wednesday, I think, because I was with you on Thursday, Mike. I think we did the Buzzcast.
Wednesday.
And it came out the day before with an interview with Matthew Perreault saying he had been told that Jets are probably going to go 4-4, that he would likely not be protected.
Right,
or
but
there's
now,
a chance to be protected. So he's already leaking that change.
But now that Enstrom has waived the no move, now they can protect 7 forwards.
But the point being is players are going to say it too. They've been told. Right.
Yeah, the players will be told, but
more than enough.
But actual release of the list is what I'm curious about. Will it actually be like on NHL.com? Here are the protected lists. That's what I don't.
Yeah.
I'm fairly sure that when they clarify this, because remember when you were talking about Peter, I know that like guys like Drager and LeBron and McKenzie and Elliot Friedman were coming out and saying it's going to get out. And the movement at first was to say, okay, nobody's going to be interested in the protected list. My butt, of course they're going to be interested. Everybody's going to be interested. So it's going to get out one way or the other. So I think it was decided that they will be released. So if it isn't released, I think there'll be a hue and cry. But I think they're also the news will get out. It'll get out somehow. It'll get out from the agents. It'll get out from the teams. It will get out. So we'll find out tomorrow. And Bob McKenzie, last thing, Bob McKenzie reporting Ottawa was not able to trade one of its defensemen by 3 p.m. Okay. Yeah. So I would think that means that either Mathot is going to get claimed by Vegas and flipped, or they're going to take one of Ottawa's young forwards and just ignore Mathot.
Right. See. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll know something more tomorrow, it seems. And we'll also, I'm sure what's going to happen now are a lot of rumors going to be released about what people were trying to do.
Yep.
And that'll also lead to some interesting clues, as it usually does.
And so we'll have a Buzzcast on Monday, probably at 1:00 with me and Russ and maybe somebody else. I'll see, but
I'll be calling into that one at some point.
Yep.
So I'll definitely call into that one. I'll definitely be able to be on the phone for that for a while.
Okay.
All right. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching.